Yeah, today it's all about repatriation. And repatriation means that you're going back to your home country and live there again after you lived some time abroad. And this sounds easy because you feel like, oh, I'm coming home and I go back to my normal life. I go back to my old job, to the house we used to live in, and everything will be fine and normal. But normally it's not. It's very rare that somebody doesn't experience some kind of reverse culture shock when they go back to their home country. And a reverse culture shock means that you feel lost. You feel alien in your own country. You don't understand the people. Everything has changed. You have changed. Everything feels small, and people feel like small-minded. And this is very hard because normally you don't expect it. At least I didn't expect it when we came back from the US. We moved back into the same house. We've been there a few times while we were living in Raleigh. We went back on vacation. We live in a beautiful small town, but it was hard. I sat here, I felt lonely, I missed the US, I missed my friends over there. I couldn't connect to the German people, and it took me a year to be finally back and to really connect to my home country again. And this is just very normal. You just don't expect it. And the problem is that nobody wants to talk about it with you. Nobody of your friends and family, that the people you go back to, they don't see that you are struggling, and they don't understand because you're back home. This is where you grew up. Of course you have to be happy to be back. And then you feel really guilty that you're not. So repatriation is hard. But there are some strategies and some tips you can use to make your repatriation better. Tip number 1 is that you write about it. The first thing is that you really need to be aware that repatriation is a problem, or can be a problem, and that reverse culture shock exists. So when you're still abroad, or you're just going and packing up to live abroad, you should already think about repatriation. And it seems early, but you can't prepare early enough, because being aware that culture shock exists and repatriation can be a problem is already the first step to make it easier and to make it better, because you will not be hit totally unprepared. So what I want you to do is to buy a journal and to write about it. What do you expect when you come home? How do you think you will feel? What do you think how long it will take? What might have changed? What might be the same? How have you changed? Write down all those things, everything that you can think about, and really prepare before you go back. And the best thing is when you do it in the last weeks and months before you go back, because it will be hard and it will be different than you think it will be. And when you're prepared and you write about it, you can connect to yourself, and you're just so much more aware. The reverse culture shock will hit you anyway, but at least it might not take that long. Tip number 2. When you're still abroad, you should collect moments. This is really crucial, I think, because when you're back in your home country, you will think about the time that you had in your guest country, and you will miss it, and you want to go back, and you can't. And of course you can go to Google Earth and look at the house that you lived in, or the city center, or monuments, or the beach, or whatever. You can always see that, but you will not see the things that made it special for you. So what I want you to do in this exercise is that you take your camera and record your view of the place that you're living in. So when you go for a run in the morning, maybe you can take a little video on how the atmosphere is, or of a certain tree that you always run past and that you just like, or you take your view of the cafe that you're always sitting in, and exactly from the chair you're sitting in and what you see from there. Just collect memories and whatever it made special for you. And then when you're at home, you can, and you're really missing your guest country, then you can get those pictures out and just be there for some time. You can also record certain sounds that made it so special. Maybe the sound of sirens, or the wind, or the surf at the beach. Whatever it is that makes the sound special, record it. And then you can listen to it from time to time. It also helps to against the homesickness that might hit you at one point, even when you don't expect it. And the third tip is something that you can do when you're already back in your home country. And what will happen, it's very likely, because it happened to almost everybody I know, is that you romanticize the country that you used to live in. The problem is that when you're back, nobody wants to hear about your experiences. That's very normal, it's very sad, but that's the way it is. So when you talk about it and you start a sentence with, but in Germany it was like this and this, people will not listen. And at one point you will just stop talking about it, and that hurts. But it will drive you even more into the feeling of trying to romanticize the country that you used to live in. And this doesn't help, because if you glorify the country that you don't live in anymore, and you hate or dislike the country that you're living in right now, then you have a problem. So make a list with all the pros and cons of your guest country. There are always things that you like, and that's good, and there are always things that you didn't like while you lived there. It might be the way that people came maybe too close because you didn't like it, or you didn't like the poisonous animals that were there, or the weather was hard on you. Whatever it is, there were things that you didn't like. Write them down. Write the pros down and write the cons down. And then look at the list. And then you get a sense of reality, that every country is good and bad. But it doesn't help if you over-romanticize the country that you lived in. And then you can also do this for the country that you're living in right now, and also see the pros and the cons. You will find more cons, maybe, but the pros also help you to see that there's beauty and good things in your home country as well. So these are the 3 things that you can do to make your repatriation easier. And always be aware, it takes time. You need time to really get back. Give yourself this time. Prepare for the reverse culture shock and be aware that it just takes time. It's normal. It happens to everybody. And I've got some resources for you. For the first exercise, I wrote down some questions that you can journal on. That just makes it easier for you to have some guidance in what to write down and what to expect from your repatriation, especially if you haven't been through one already, because I have, and I can help with that. All the resources you find on my website. It's www.dreamfinder-coaching.com, and there in the blog you can find everything, but I will also put the link under this video, and there you can download your free resources. Additionally, if you want to become part of my expat partner circle, you can do this and sign up for my newsletter, and you will get information like this all the time. I have many resources there and help you with information and coaching tips, and especially self-coaching tips that you can create your dream life while you're living abroad. And if you want more information on the topic of repatriation, I also did a podcast episode on this topic with Tina Busch. And I published it in my Expat Partner podcast. And I will also put the link in the show notes. And Tina Busch is also German. She lived in the US for 5 years. And we did an interview in English and in German about repatriation, because Tina was a lot smarter than I was, and she prepared right from the start for repatriation and read all about reverse culture shock and knows a lot more about it than most people. Still, she experienced it. She also had trouble when she moved back to Germany, but she has lots of tips for you as well. And so if you want to listen in, you can find it on the Expat Partner podcast. So take care and see you next week.